Phil Jackson. What comes to your head when I say those words? NBA legend, icon coach, author? In today's video, we're going to be exploring the one and only Phil Jackson, but not because of his basketball accolades, or at least not directly because of his basketball accolades, but more so because of a book he's written. And this book, I believe, valuable and insightful to not only those who strive to be coaches, but those who want to be great players and make that team, being able to be a leader on the court as well as off. And that is why this video will be focusing on you as a basketball player, someone who is still currently active in the sport, trying to make a team, whether it be high school, university, college, whether you're just trying to make up a pickup team. This video is going to be all about exploring what it truly means to be one with your team and how to truly get into the mindset of a coach so that you can succeed. And that's why it might seem strange that I'm suggesting to read a book for coaches. Shouldn't I be reading a book about Kobe Bryant, like how Kobe Bryant put 100 hours in the gym? But chances are you know how to work hard. You know what it takes to do 1,000 shots every week or whatever to get into the team. It's not an idea that many people are missing. But what they are often missing is things like attitude, ego, your mindset, and how to truly push the boundary so that you can be recognized by your coach. And that is why today we'll be exploring Phil Jackson's Sacred Hoops. Now, this book truly goes into what it means to be a coach and what that looks like as a coach. But with my analysis and what I've read from this book, as well as being a basketball player myself, playing at a high level in high school, be it in South Africa, but still something I'm very proudful about, I believe that I can give some insight on what this book meant for me reading it, and more so how it can help you along your career. I will be doing this by exploring 4 main themes in the book. And the first of that being the coach's mentality. So you are trying to make the team, or you've made the team, but you're on the bench and you want to get to that next level. You want to get more minutes, or you want to play for yourself. That is what this video is for. Those who think, number 1, that they need more minutes. Number 2, that they believe they can impact their team at a greater level. And number 3, that maybe want to play for themselves. And I hope by the end of this video you'll have more of a concept of maybe playing for the team, and that is truly what this video is about. So why read this book? This book is going to give you insight into someone who is regarded as the greatest, or one of the greatest NBA coaches of all time. And if you are truly serious about your career in basketball and what you want to do with it, whether it be to make it pro or to even just play at a high level, you definitely have to look past just what you can do. You have to understand that to make the team and to be a great player, you need to understand how a coach thinks. And so yes, it may be a bit early to be reading about coaching and how to coach better, but if you understand how a coach's mind works and what a coach looks for, then you are able to implement that, whether it be in practice or games, and I promise you will stand out far more to anyone so that they can want you on your team. So one of the first themes that Phil Jackson explores in this is his own journey of spiritualism, right? And yes, I know as soon as you hear the word spiritualism, you think 60s hippie or 70s hippie or whatever, but it genuinely isn't like that. It's a form of understanding how your mind works and finding a way to make something mean more to you. So what does that mean? Well, this chapter that I'm going to refer to specifically talks about understanding yourself, your spiritual identity, and understanding a concept called Zen. Throughout the rest of this video, we are going to go through activities that will going to help you understand how your brain works and how you think. Why do you want to be a star player on a team? Why do you want to win? Why do you want this, that? The whole point of this chapter was to provide an understanding that the mind is so powerful compared to the body. Often NBA players, or even just high school players, you know what to do. You know how to exceed or how to excel at a sport. You practice and you get good at it. The flip side of that is allowing that training and that practice to come out. So a lot of us, when we play basketball, I know this is true for myself, every time I had the ball as a point guard, I was thinking, oh, I'm going to go up and I need to do a crossover, and as soon as I do a crossover, I need to make sure I can fight through this. I'm going to take 2 steps on the right side of the paint. You get into your own head. And what Phil Jackson talks about in this book, and why I recommend you read it, is because he explained how he explored his baseball career and how he used to throw rockets, great arm for throwing a baseball, and would knock people out, sure, and get them, I don't know what you call it in baseball, but when you knock them out, I don't know. But he would do that all the time, but the other half of the time, he would be throwing his shoulder off. And it was from a suggestion from his brother to, rather instead of think too much in the moment, rather let your body and your skill naturally take over. Visualize before games what you're going to do, understand, take some time, close your eyes, and just allow the motion to happen. And think about it, but don't actively think about it. So before a game, visualize, okay, if I'm in a pick and roll, there's a pick and roll, you look at it in your mind, you don't overcomplicate it, you know what a pick and roll looks like. And then when you're on the court and you're about to run a pick and roll, don't think about it. Just let it be. And what Phil Jackson found through that is he was able to throw his pitches a lot better in his early baseball career when he was, a teenager, college player. And he was able to play one of the best games of his life because he didn't overthink it. He wasn't throwing as hard, sure, and he wasn't putting everything into that throw, but he allowed his training and his practice to naturally take over. And that all stems from spirituality, understanding your mental, understanding who you are. So how do I do this? How do I truly get into my mental? Well, number one, there's some great books that he recommends in this book himself. I believe one is The Beginner's Mind. And that is a book I'm going to be reading soon. But it's about taking the first steps into understanding what Zen is and how to truly just take control of your mind. Now we're going to do an exercise. I believe it's referred to as Zazen. I may be mispronouncing that. I apologize if I am. And Phil Jackson practiced this, and he got the Chicago Bulls, one of the most successful teams of all time, to practice this. And essentially what it is you find somewhere relaxing. Generally it should be on a cushion. I'm on my chair, so we're going to practice this together. And you don't close your eyes, just look at an object around you and focus on that object, but don't think about anything. Try and clear the mind and just breathe. Generally box breathing helps. If you know what that is, it's breathe in for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, repeat the process. You don't want to have any thoughts. When a thought comes up, don't negate it entirely and be like, I mustn't be thinking. Rather acknowledge that you've had that thought and then let it pass. And then if another thought comes up, acknowledge the thought, recognize it, and then let the thought pass. And if you do this for 5, 10, 15 minutes, you start to realize that you become a lot more peaceful and you're very aware of your body and what your body is doing. Every breath you take in, your lungs expand, realize it, let it go, and you try not to think about anything. And this is a great tool for basically owning your mind, being able to control what you think. This is a huge part about, number one, understanding yourself as a basketball player and to not get stressed in those game time situations. But number two, to understand the mentality of a coach. A coach wants his players focused. And if you truly want to make that team or be the best player on the team or provide as much contribution as possible, you need to be in the moment. You need to be able to take a break, relax, and have control over yourself and your brain. That rule in itself, the whole idea of Zen and control, was actually a bit of a surprise to me, reading that in the book. But honestly, I've applied that to my life since I've read this book, and it truly does give you a bit more control over how you think, why you think the things you do, and how to make those thoughts more useful. Don't rush into things, don't overcomplicate it, and just go. And that is point number 2. But honestly, I think it's the most important point we're going to discuss today, is, have control over your mind. Be relaxed, be in the moment, be prepared. Okay, so we understand the basics of, spiritualism, understanding your mind, your mental, trying to find quote unquote Zen. But the second aspect that I found most beneficial from reading this book is the idea of the team player, being selfless. Now, obviously everyone's heard this before. You need to play for your team. It's not about you. Basketball is a team sport, and that's true. But a lot of us don't actually understand what that means. And if I give my own testimony, when I was in high school, yes, I wanted nothing more than to win. But, it's a very attractive thing to be the person on your team, to take the ball and say, I'm going to go score this now, or I'm going to do a flashy crossover and then hit a 3 in someone's face, because that's the game of basketball. It is flashy by nature. However, you have to truly start asking yourself, then why are you playing? If you truly value that selfishness and that idea that you want to be viewed as that guy or that girl, then you need to start realizing that maybe you don't actually value success as a team. And a very interesting idea that Phil Jackson dives into in this book is understanding, Michael Jordan, you know him, heard of him? Yeah, one of the greatest players of all time. But he couldn't win a championship by himself. His first few playoffs were first and second round exits, getting beaten by the Celtics, because one man or woman by themselves cannot beat a whole NBA team or a whole high school team or a whole college team. It's impossible, because the very nature of the sport of basketball is that the ball moves faster than your body ever could. It's a very nuanced game. It's not a sport like, no hate to cricket players, but like, it's not a sport where you stay in place, a ball gets bowled to you and hit it. It's a game where you can score from anywhere in the court at any time. You can pass, it's a very crazy amalgamation of movement. You know, it's a dance. That's what basketball is. It's a dance. And what Phil Jackson tried to explain in this section of like selflessness is understanding that you have to have, especially as a coach, and that's where the coach aspect of this book comes in, that you have to have a set of principles that everyone in the team abides by so that the players understand why they're being critiqued, why you're saying, hey, you're being selfish. Like, yeah, sure, maybe you hit a 3, but it was a contested shot and there was an easy pass to the middle and you could have passed that and your teammate would have scored that. And it's understanding that as a team, you need to have a culture. Now you're asking me, Brady, but if I'm a player, how do I have this culture in the team? Well, this is something that maybe you should talk to your coach about. If there isn't a set ideal of this is how our principle of a team, we believe in pass first, play now kind of idea, go to your coach and say, hey, how do I as a player lead the other players? How do I make sure that I am part of the team as a whole? And if you have a coach that's, worth their salt, they're going to appreciate that. And they're going to either, number one, explain their system more in depth to you, and that immediately helps you as a player because now you understand their philosophy and their mentality as a coach. But number two, if there isn't one, now you've sparked that interest in the coach saying, oh my goodness, maybe I need to take a step up and actually provide a set of principles that my team can follow. And this is something that you need to do because it shows that you're willing to be a leader. It shows that you're willing to play selflessly and that you're willing to tell the coach, hey, I think we need to have a system that's going to help us all. Have you heard of the triangle offense, right? So popularized by Phil Jackson. It wasn't created by him, but he definitely knew how to use that system. And he used it, and he talks about it in this book. He used it because it's basically a playless play. It's a play or system of offense that doesn't have one person go and get it and you score and you're the greatest of all time. Yeah, the system of the triangle offense allows everyone to kind of move together and become one as a team, and that's what throws the defense off. Now, obviously, the triangle offense isn't as used in the NBA today. It's not as effective because the game has changed. But the idea is more that you need to find a system that complements everyone in your team. And if you, as a player, can recognize that, not only, number one, is that extremely mature as someone, who wants to be the scorer or the go-getter, but number two, it shows the coach that you're willing to put that work in. And I mean, I've obviously had some experience in coaching, no high levels, just high school teams. But to me, the players that I valued the most and that I wanted to have the most playing time and grow were the ones that came to me with ideas and saying, hey, I really want the team to succeed. Anything you need me to do for the team, I'm here for you. And to me, that is like the true mark of a great player. And that's what you should be implementing. Again, why you should read the book. And so the final point that I want to dive into today from this book is the idea of being an invisible leader. Now, Phil Jackson explained this extremely well in the book, and he truly gave like his insights on what it means to lead behind. Because, as a coach, you're not on the court. You can't take the ball and score, or as one of my coaches used to say, they can't play like it's 2K, they can't control you and tell you where to move. You do that as a player. But the whole value of a coach is what you do beforehand. And you almost become this invisible leader because you create a system, you create the training plans, you have a relationship with all of the players, and then you let them go and do it. What Phil Jackson said in his book is that one of the biggest components of being a leader in the NBA, and this applies for most things in life, is you have to have faith. A leader has faith because, number one, they are compassionate, and number two, they have trust in their teammates. And so I'm going to just explain the two values which I mentioned that Phil Jackson explains as true leadership and how you as a player can instill this. How can you be an invisible leader? Why should you be an invisible leader? Well, because this is something that a coach will recognize. They'll recognize that you're not just there shouting on the court. Because yes, that's great, and that leadership is needed. You need someone who's vocal and there. But leadership is such a complex and nuanced topic that has layers of understanding. And a coach can understand if their player is showing that and developing that. And that is something that is going to get you in your rotations in your team, and it's truly going to uplift you as a player. The first level is compassion. It's a compassion-led leadership. And this is also coming from the idea of like Zen and, have a mind of peace and compassion for people. And I guess that's something that spiritual journey influenced Phil Jackson a lot, but it's true. If you have players on your team, you need to understand them. You need to have compassion for them. Why is Bobby not passing me the ball when I'm open on the wing, right? If you have compassion and you go and talk to them about it, instead of just seeing them as an object, like, oh, he doesn't give me the ball, I'm upset now. But if you just sit down with them and be like, hey, look, like when we play games often, I'm open in the corner, do you not trust me? I understand if you don't, this is why I think you should trust me, why don't you trust me? If you go to start that conversation in a place of compassion, understanding maybe they're really stressed, maybe they need to play well in basketball else they lose their scholarship, and so they can't just pass, they need to score however many points, right? Like, yeah, it's a random example, but I need you to understand that that's how you need to approach things. You need to understand that they have their whole life going on behind them, and most of the time people aren't trying to spite you because of you. And so if you go into it with the idea of compassion, trying to understand your teammates, number one, your teammates will recognize it and they will appreciate it because they recognize that you're genuinely talking to them and just listening to them without judgment, and that'll be appreciated and you'll be respected for that more than if you were just like, hey, pass me the ball, I'm open, dumbhead. Like, you have to understand that as a leader, if you want to take on that invisible leader role on your team, you need to go in with an open mind. Then the second part of that is trust. So a coach needs to have faith and trust in his team, and you need to have trust in your teammates. And oftentimes the leader role is if a teammate misses a shot, you get a rebound and you pass it straight back to them. That's what a leader will do. And yeah, you're not going to get the highlight, you're not going to be the one splashing that shot on the second make, but your teammate is going to remember that pass that you made to them. And these are the components that are really hard to understand, especially if you're still in high school and you're going through that off. You know, I can never relate to American college players or NBA players because I've never been on that level, right? I've never played at such a high level as an athlete. So of course that brings it in its own spectrum of understanding, and these guys are playing for a career. They want to get paid $20 million a year, and that's why they're being selfish. I understand that, and this video maybe isn't necessarily to them, but even if it was, that's when it comes down to your values. You can't say that you are a team first or a player who wants to win if you're prioritizing you. And with that, firstly, I want to really encourage you to go and read this book, Phil Jackson's Sacred Hoops. It truly does open your mind up to what is it like being one of the greatest coaches of all time. And if you are a basketball player, that is such valuable information to have. Always try and think on the next level. Yes, everyone knows if you play good basketball and you practice and you train, you can be good. But hey, there's levels to it. Just like in anything in life, there's levels, and you need to explore that. And I really urge you to go and read this book because it truly does make you understand, like, what does it mean to be a great player? What does it mean to be a great coach? And I hope my video has helped you understand how you can equate those two things and marry them together so that you can truly understand how a coach thinks and how to become a great player that is going to basically make that the most effective combination. Secondly, I really hope you enjoyed this video and share with me, what you loved about the video. I'd really also like to hear some stories from you guys, so please leave below maybe your goals that you want to achieve with your team in the next year, and then maybe you can come back in the video and then tell us, like, did you manage to do that? Where along those goals did you succeed? What happened? But I really do hope you enjoyed this video. Obviously I don't know this stuff yet. I'm still learning. But however, if I can take a book like that, read it, try and adapt it, and then share it with you, I truly believe that we're creating this great environment or even a community where we're just allowing each other to learn and grow. So any advice that you've learned throughout your basketball career, your life career, whatever it may be, please share it in the comments. We'd all love to know, and I truly hope to create a community of upliftment, of developing real leaders and developing people who want to always pursue the crazy goals. I want people that want to push themselves, develop a great strong mind, a great strong body, and this could be amazing. Without further ado, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you smash that like button. Please do subscribe if you want to be a part of this community and do more with us. And until next time.